I love going around my yard and foraging for all of the things from nature that I can put into a final product, whether I use it for myself or I sell it on my Etsy shop. So one of the things I do is I will collect rosebuds, flower heads from things like zinnias, but I'll also collect rosemary and sage, peppermint, lichen. I have a huge basket of lichen from some trees that came down. Lichen is kind of everywhere, and lichen is probably one of the most combustible things that nature puts out. So I have created fire starters with all of these things that I forage and collect. So after everything is dried, I put them together, and I think this might be my favorite one. This is my Herbal Apothecary, and it's done in a little muffin cup. And you can see it's got the zinnia head right here. There's rosebuds. I've got peppermint, I've got sage, there's lavender, there's yarrow, and there's a little bit of lichen over here as well. So that is the Herbal Apothecary fire starter that I sell in a set of 6. I also have my Harvest Moon. This one you'll see, a lot of the herbs are the same, but I have yarrow, and I have marigolds, and little pine cones. Winter Solstice. Each one of these is rather unique because it's a combination of holly leaves and berries and lichen, cinnamon sticks, acorn caps. And the last one is my Autumn Equinox. And you'll see a lot of similarities, but there are little mum heads in there, and lichen, peppermint. And each one has its own unique blend of essential oils so that they are scented. So these are boxes of 6, and I sell them for $26 in my Etsy shop. Check out the link below. Well, it's super bright out here, but day 3, coming back to this ledge that I built out, and because I couldn't cut the back, sorry chickens, I'll let you out in a minute, because I couldn't cut the back at an angle, I've dropped this in, and there is a gap. Let's see, you can kind of see right here. Let me go into the shade and you'll be able to see the gap better. Change the lighting so you can see this gap running right through here. So I was going to fill that with caulking, but I think I have a better idea. Caulking tends to shrink, tends to pull away. We already had caulking in here, and it was like a worn out rubber band. It was terrible. It does not last, especially in hot, humid climates, and then with a lot of rain in the winter. So I think I have a better solution. We're going to go take a look at that. Well, it's fall, but you wouldn't know it. I'm still wearing summer clothes because it's hot out. In the shade, it's not so bad, but in the sun, it's especially hot. So I'll be working in the sun. Got to stick with summer clothes. Just dying to put on a sweater. Anyway, we were looking at the gap in that board that I put as a ledge, and I don't want to use caulking like I was originally thinking was my only option, because it will shrink, it will pull away, it will fail pretty quickly. So I had this idea of using window glazing. Found this at Lowe's. I know there's other brands out there, but I think this was like just about $12.98, $13, something like that. And it doesn't shrink, it doesn't crack, it won't sag, it's airtight, and it's a weather-tight seal. And so I know most people use this on glass with wood, but I think this is going to actually work out really well. So I'm going to give it a shot, and I have to put my close-up glasses on to see what the dry time is. I read somewhere like 15 minutes, and other places 1 to 2 weeks. So yeah, we'll see. The other thing that I got today is the natural pigment paint. So we're going to open that up. It comes from a company called the Earth Pigments Company out of Heinsberg, Vermont. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm originally from Vermont, just north of Heinsberg. I'm in North Carolina now, but I'm always pleased to support any small businesses in Vermont since there's so few of them. It's hard to make a living in Vermont, which is why I'm in North Carolina. All right, let's see. You can actually see the chicken coop behind me. This is the back end where I've got double doors, excuse the gutters, the double doors where I can access the nesting boxes if I want to. I typically don't, but I can if I need to. So that is the original color I painted it, and hopefully we'll get something similar. Let's see what's in the box. Natural red. I think this one's out of India. There's others that are out of France. It looks very pink. But this is going to get mixed with several things. And I found there's a French website. I'll have to look it up and put it in the details, give you a link to it. But they talk to you about the history of the Swedish flour paint. And so basically what I'm going to be using is just a little over 2 pounds worth of pigment, 4 1/4 quarts of water, 11 ounces of flour, 4 1/2 ounces of iron sulfate, which the last time I did this, I had some left over. Checked it out. Ferrous sulfate, iron sulfate, it's pretty much the same thing for our purposes. It's a powder. And what I did not know about this, which is really fascinating to me, is why do you need it? Well, it turns out it's like an antifungal agent that is excellent for exterior uses because it keeps things from deteriorating in humid areas. And here we are in North Carolina, super, super humid area. So I think it makes a superior paint product when you use this. It also has 1/2 quart of linseed oil. And I've got like a 5-gallon drum of this stuff. And then a little less than 2 ounces of a clear dish soap. So that linseed oil, along with the pigment, along with the ferrous sulfate, really makes for a superior paint, and it's actually probably cheaper than a gallon of paint, and this will go a lot further. So we'll be repainting the whole thing. The new side will probably get a second coat here, a few weeks from when I do the first coat, and then it's usually good for a couple of years. Once it gets a second coat, it should be good for, I don't know, at least 5+ years I've heard, or longer. So, all right, I think we've got several projects to work on today. One is filling that gap with the window glazing. 2 is going to be taking a look at how long it takes to dry. I've got some fall decorating to do around the front of the house. We picked up some mums and some pumpkins, but they're just sort of sitting there. We haven't really finished decorating, so that needs to be done. And I also have a bench, a little wooden bench that my son built, and the top has completely rotted away, if you will. So I've got a new board to put on top. I was going to replace the board, but I think I'm actually going to just put a new board right over the existing one, and that's out in the courtyard. And so we'll do that. That'll be a quick job today. All right. So I'm reading the instructions on the window glazing, which I've never used before. I've seen it done, but I've not done it. And what's interesting is it does, now this is of course, application for a window. We're just doing kind of wood on wood, but got planes overhead. But it does tell you that once it has sort of skinned over and attained a firm set, which takes about 7 to 14 days depending on the temperature and humidity, that you absolutely have to use a high quality oil-based exterior paint. And since we're using the Swedish Flour Paint that has linseed oil, we're spot on. That's exactly what you want to use. That's just rather than a latex paint. So we're primed. This is, I think, going to be the right product. I hate that it takes 7 to 14 days to dry, but we've also got, the temperatures are warm, but they're dry, really, really dry. There's no humidity right now. We aren't expecting any rain anytime soon, probably at least a week plus of no rain, and it has been probably at least 2 weeks with no rain. So with a little bit of luck, maybe it'll dry quicker and we can get the thing painted sooner than later before rain comes in. Okay, I'm getting ready to mix up the Swedish Flour Paint. So I've got my ingredients and supplies spread out. I'm using an old metal lobster pot. 17 cups of water is going to be the ratio I'm using. Some of that will get mixed in with, you guessed it, flour. It's about 11 ounces of flour for my ratios. We've got our red pigment, our sulfate, about 4.5 ounces of that. Will be, by the way, we'll be using the entire bag. It's about 2.1 pounds or 1 kilogram. And then we've got 2 cups of linseed oil. I just put it in an old tea container so I could mark my 2-cup mark and pour it in here so I can toss it out after I wipe it out. We'll be using almost double this clear dish soap. And yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna get started heating up the water, mixing the flour mixture. It's gonna go, we're gonna put the flour mixture into the boiling water, cook that for about 15 minutes, and then we'll be adding in the pigmentation and the sulfate, cook that for about 15 minutes. Then we add in the linseed oil, cook that for about 15 minutes, and then we'll finally add in the dish soap, bring the temperature down, take it off the heat, and let it cool down, and we'll be ready to paint. So it takes about an hour to cook this and prepare it, and then hopefully the painting will go pretty fast. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good in the dark. That's what we want. I can't believe I'm gonna be putting this whole thing in. Okay, the pigmentation and sulfur has been cooking for 15 minutes. Time to add the linseed oil. I feel like a scientist. Ooh. From here on out, it will only smell like linseed oil. It's so funny that when I buy paint on the market, I always buy latex, you know, especially even just, you know, exterior, always latex. When I was a kid, it was probably all oil-based. What I like about this, though, is it is oil-based, but it's linseed oil. It's non-toxic. The sulfur is an antifungal agent, so it's really good for high humidity climates, like here in North Carolina. It's just the whole thing. It's non-toxic, so I feel good about using it. And it lasts. It lasts so much longer than regular latex paint. Latex paint will just peel off from anything. A lot of times I've used it on wood. It doesn't make it a year. Can't make it through a single year between the heat and humidity and then the rain in the winter. And this stuff, this will last for years. Years and years. Okay, we're adding in the last ingredient, clear dish soap. I have to fill this twice. This is a little shot glass, so here's the first ounce. And then we can turn the heat off and let it cool down. I'm gonna take it outside in a few minutes to let it cool down because I picked today because it's only in the high 50s. It might hit 60 or 61, and it's overcast, so we don't have any direct sun. We don't have the heat. It'll be a perfect day for painting, for drying. There's no humidity. So spot on the weather. It's the one and only day. That is a heavy pot of paint. I still see the steam coming off from it. Should cool pretty quickly out here. And then I'm hoping it'll all fit in this orange bucket. I didn't think to get a container ahead of time, just use what I have. And you know, the best buckets are free. Couldn't even tell you how I got this one. I think I just blew into the yard. Ugly, but it holds paint. So let's compare it to the existing coupe. I don't know, it looks pretty similar, doesn't it? Yeah. Watch it be the exact same color. Anyway, it's wet, so who knows, maybe it'll dry. Maybe it'll dry a little bit differently. Hey. Hold on. Hold on. What did you get? No, you did not. Oh my gosh. They found a mouse. It's a dead mouse and they're fighting over it. And I don't want them to have it. Oh my gosh, I'll be right back. Okay, I finally finished painting the coop. All 4 sides are done. This was the new side. So I had done the first coat and then I waited several days actually before I came back and did a second coat. And I think it looks good. So I am getting ready to put the gutter up right now and I'm putting the pieces together. So okay, so I had just gone to Lowe's and bought plain, cheap vinyl, white vinyl gutters. They carry them in brown, but they didn't have them in stock. I was willing to wait. So I spray painted this. It's a metallic aged copper. You can kind of see it's been spray painted, but that's okay. It's just going on a chicken coop, and I think once I have it up I can touch it up a little bit and make it look better, but it actually does match our real aged copper gutters that are on the house, and these are going to be right next to one of those. So the thing that I had to do is I had to attach, let's see if I can move this over, this downspout connector here, which meant I had to cut a hole on the inside of this. I could not figure out how to get this hole started, so I'll tell you what I did. You can see the hole there. I've already slid the box on. But to get that hole cut, you know, I laid the box inside, traced it with a Sharpie, and then I thought this might work, a box cutter. No, don't use a box cutter. Could not figure out how to do it. I've got little you know, snippers, but I'm also not real strong, and I was afraid if I slip with a knife or something. And then I thought, you know what? Let's just use a drill bit. So I literally went around and made holes with the drill bit. I thought I was going to be able to just make holes and then cut it with this, but the teeth on this, I don't know if you can see those, the teeth on that were too big. I just couldn't get it to move. So I used the drill bit. And this is the piece that came out, and you can see all the holes around it. I just used the drill bit and pushed the holes from one hole to the next. Took this whole piece out so you can see how jagged it is on the inside. But anyway, I put the end cap on, and now I'm just going to respray paint that. And I think even though it's a little bit jagged, I cleaned it up with my tin snips, and I'll just spray it. You're not going to see it. It's up in the air from our back deck. You can kind of look down on it, but I think it'll be good. So yeah, I just got to give a final coat of paint, and places where I've sort of scratched it up from woman handling it. Man handling, woman handling it. So yeah, that's good to go. So we're going to go ahead and try to put, take all the brackets that I spray painted as well, get the brackets on, try to install this gutter, and then I'll be able to measure how long I need my downspout so I can cut that. I'm going to cut it before I spray paint it so I don't waste paint. So I got to touch that whole section up there, or you can see the white. I'll touch that up. But I've got that bracket in. And and then on down to the actual piece of copper, and then it will flow out onto those concrete blocks. So yeah, got it done. And you can see to the back and to the left, right there, that copper gutter to the left of the arborvitae, that is all original copper that has aged. That's a pretty good, it's hard to tell with the sun, but that's a pretty close color. You won't be able to tell. And that will just have to now age. Great, done.